Ms. Emily Shelton from BT and Company, and she'll present the audit information for fiscal year 2024.
Good evening, everyone. As mentioned, my name is Emily Sheldon. I'm a principal with BT & Co. Presenting Gladstone's audit. And you have received a draft of the letter addressed to the Mayor and City Council. The letter summarizes matters that we are required to bring to your attention about the financial statement audit. And for my presentation this evening, I'll be going through the key points of that letter. We start off the letter by addressing our responsibility to perform an audit in accordance with specific accounting standards. Those standards require us to perform procedures to obtain reasonable assurance about whether the financial statements are free of material misstatement. Our procedures include examining, on a test basis, evidence supporting the amounts and disclosures in the financial statements. We also assess the accounting principles used and the significant estimates made by management, as well as evaluate the overall financial statement presentation. I am pleased to report that as a result of our audit, we determined that the fiscal year 2024 financial statements are presented fairly in all material respects in conformity with generally accepted accounting principles. And when we finalize the audit, we expect to issue an unmodified audit opinion, which is the best kind of opinion that the city can receive. In accounting policies and practices portion of the letter, we bring to your attention anything identified in the procedures we performed relating to significant alternative, adopted, changed, or controversial accounting policies, significant accounting policies in emerging areas, or significant unusual transactions. No such items were noted for the fiscal year 2024 audit. The city has several significant estimates that are summarized in the Summary of Significant Accounting Estimates section of the letter. Those are the fair value of investments, allowance for doubtful accounts, lease-related items, pension-related items, and other post-employment benefit items as well. Our responsibility as auditors is to analyze the processes that the city has in place to record these estimates. And as a result of our work, we concluded that the city's estimates do appear reasonable. Next in the letter, we note that audit adjusting journal entries were recorded as a result of our audit. These adjusting journal entries were predominantly what we call entity-wide journal entries. Those are standard journal entries that are prepared solely to convert the city's fund-level financial statements to the government-wide financial statements, which use two different methods of accounting. You can find copies of those adjustments at the end of the representation letter. There were no uncorrected misstatements noted. For the observations about the audit process portion of the letter, I'd like to inform you that during our audit, city management and staff were responsive and transparent with our team members, and we encountered no disagreements, significant issues, or difficulties in performing the audit. Then there's a new to the letter, but not new in practice section of the letter, which describes our shared responsibilities for independence. We as auditors are required to maintain independence, both of mind and in appearance, when providing audit and other attestation services. We also must maintain a system of quality management over compliance with independence rules and firm policies. The city is responsible for timely informing us if there are new affiliates, directors, or officers, or changes in the organizational structure or reporting entity, and analyzing arrangements with our firm to ensure no management decisions on behalf of the city are being made. Finally, we have attached a draft copy of management's representation letter. This letter is the final step in the audit process and puts into writing matters that are required by our standards to be represented to us by management. The signing of this letter represents management's acceptance of the financial statements and is an indication that the audit report is ready to be finalized. We provide this letter to you because we believe it will help you, as a governing body, better understand the city's representations about its financial statements, and it will help you fulfill your fiduciary responsibilities. The achievement of an excellent audit result, such as the city's, is a testament to both the city's preparedness for its audit, as well as maintaining good processes and controls in place throughout the entire year. Audits are time and effort intensive on their own, and adding a transition in finance leadership only heightens that intensity. As such, I would like to give special thanks to Matt and Robert for their assistance with the audit, as well as the rest of the city staff who are fortunate enough to go through the process along with them. With that, I will open up to any questions that you may have. Thank you very much for your time this evening.
Questions?
Mayor, I just had one question. As I recall, we post the final audit report on the city's website for the public to see when it's all done. Great, thank you.
Questions? Thank you, Emily.
Thank you very much.
Our next presentation will be on the Gladstone magazine. Communication specialist Nikki Langsford, she'll provide a little update for us. Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, let me make sure I don't press the wrong button because I always do that. There we go. Alrighty. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Hope you all are doing well. Since the magazine had just come out, and honestly, I'm sure it's been a while for some of you, or maybe never, since you've gotten kind of a detailed report of how we put the magazine together. That's why I'm here today, just to kind of go over our process, numbers, all of that. So I went through a lot of our old archives to put this together, so I thought it'd be kind of fun to walk down memory lane first. So here's some interesting articles that kind of just give a historical look at Gladstone. So like fall of 2007, you can see when we passed the 1/4 sales tax that we ended up ultimately using for the community center. And then we had articles that weren't as positive, but definitely noteworthy, like when the tornado came through town in 2008. Or when the construction of Linden Square first kind of became a center of what we were going to do with the city downtown area. Also the brand new opening of the AJ Farms that has now grown and will continue to grow with the venue that's out there and everything we've done so far. And then I couldn't help but throw this photo in, because I just figured there was a lot of old faces, so I figured I could pick on Tim a little bit. But here's the, when we installed the solar panels for the city's water treatment plant. And yeah, so with that all being said, let's go ahead and start with the process. So construction of the Gladstone magazine is about a months-long process that results in a community magazine intended to better inform and engage our residents. We work hand in hand with multimedia company Townsend Communications. They carry most of the heavy lift of the production, but city staff definitely helps back them up with just overseeing, writing some articles, a lot of editing. And it's about roughly a 5-month process, sometimes 4, it just depends on how long it takes to get stuff like ad sales, all of that. But typically we do about 5 months. And we'll go in greater detail about this, but the first month is about just brainstorming, coming up with what we want the new edition to look like. Month 2 to 4 is that really heavy lifting work where we go ahead and draft everything, do all the interviews, start collecting advertisements. And then month 5 is execution, so when we do the designing, the editing, and finally printing. And so for our first session, it's the brainstorming, and that typically involves me meeting with Alexia Lang, who is the magazine editor, and we have a long sit-down meeting where we just go over everything. We discuss what we want the theme to be, so some type of message that connects the articles with what's important to Gladstone at the time. So like this year's theme is embracing winter while thinking of spring, because we had a lot of spring-ish articles in mind, but we were having trouble being like, well, there's snow on the ground, but we're talking about parks. So we decided to kind of do a dual concept. Like last year's, in the spring of this year was, oh gosh, what was it? Oh, looking to the future, because we had just opened City Hall renovations and we had just done the renovation of the police station. So yeah, we just tried to find something that kind of ties all the articles together and give it a real cohesive image. In this meeting, we come up with the story budget so that it details, it's basically just a really detailed list of all the articles, who's going to write them, so who's assigned to them, and the photos that we're going to want to do with them. We also start discussing the cover, so we kind of take that theme and go, okay, so what's a good cover image? So this year we did Linden Square during the snow time, because again, that embracing winter while dreaming of spring. And then once that's all done, we go into the construction phase. So for the construction phase, this is where that 2 to 4 month process where we sit down and Alexia goes, okay, I need you to write this, and I need you to write this, and I need you to do this. So that will include all city staff that write articles. I'm sure you know, we have a lot of city leadership that writes articles. I will write a handful myself. And then it also considers non-city staff writers. So we have a lot of contributing writers as well. I mean, we even have people that are, do mental health articles, do health articles. We have some that just do recipes, any and everything we can kind of, if we need that filler, we have them write. And then obviously Alexia writes a lot as well. She's very much in charge of getting a majority of the articles done.
And her and I will kind of tag team as well for anyone that's not necessarily a writer but needs their content out there, and we'll go ahead and help them along with what they want to put together. And then that's when we start drafting our content, so we'll start going to interviews. I don't do much interviews, mostly that is Alexia, but she does a great job at hunting people down, whether they want to be found or not, and getting them to give their take on whatever story we're asking them to, and then we'll start writing. And then this is also during the time when we start collecting advertisements. That's mostly through Townsend too. So they'll find key people in our community that, you know, align with what they're getting their message to our residents, and go ahead and see if they want to advertise in our edition of the magazine. And then we go into execution. So this includes designing, which again is under by Townsend. They'll put together what makes it all look pretty and beautiful. And during this time, usually I get those raw, unedited articles from Alexia of everyone, so then that's when I start my series of editing. And I'll just go through, start marking down all the edits, any changes we need to make. Love my AP style if you're in the journalism field. And then the editing doesn't just stop with me, that will go back to Alexia. She'll go ahead and get those edits to the designer, and then the final print will go to a bunch of people to make sure that we have no mistakes. So it goes to me, it goes to city leadership, Bob, City Manager Bear, Assistant City Manager Austin Greer. We'll all look it over, and then Parks and Rec will also look over their side as well, because they have a lot of dates and stuff that they have to check through. And then Alexia will also go through and do some fine combing of it as well, and then hopefully by the end of it, after being under many scrutiny and many eyes, there is no mistakes, and that's when we will actually send it to printing. Printing is a little bit of a hit or miss sometimes, just because we have to rely on the printer and what their schedule is. Most of the time, once it gets sent to printer, we usually have it within a week or two, and that's when it starts going out to residents. Once it's out to residents is when I start promoting it much more, because it doesn't always end up in people's mailboxes, so we'll direct them to the website if you don't get it through your mailbox, and then we'll post it on the city's social media page, and then this year we'll do it through the newsletter as well. And then here's just a look at the numbers. We don't currently have the numbers for the fall edition, so this is all based off the spring edition. But the printing and layout's about $21,000, and then we do get a discount for advertisement and sales, so this year is about $4,300. Freight and editorial services, so what Alexia does as well, is $5,600, and that outs about to $22,500. And then the amount printed, that goes to Gladstone residents, and it just goes to houses, so that's why it's not the full $27,000, although we are looking into maybe having some printed more so that we can actually just like hand deliver them to big residents, like apartment complexes like the Heights or something like that. We're actually looking at this round in particular. I'm keeping a very close track of how many we have at the end, so we're not overspending or overprinting or underprinting, and then based off of that we might be able to send them out to more people. And then about 3,500 get mailed to Parks and Recreations, and about 1,200 get delivered to City Hall. So those are the ones that always end up out front, and then they'll also go to the community center a lot. And then we have sometimes the school district will go and pick them up, and then some of the advertisements, or the people that got their advertisements in them will want them, so they'll come by and grab a handful too. And then it's been a goal to keep production costs relatively similar through each edition of the magazine. Over the last 5 years, the cost has fluctuated roughly within $3,000 of each edition. And honestly, that number seems a little bit more drastic than what it really is. Simply put, the COVID edition in 2020 was very sparse, so it was significantly cheaper, which kind of throws off the numbers a bit. Most of the times, the magazine has been between about $21,000 to $22,000 to print, and we've even gone to different printers just to try to keep that price within the same price range. And that's it. If you guys have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Any questions?
Mayor, I just offer a comment. Everybody that I have ever shown the magazine to has been very impressed with it.
Okay.
I think every issue I've seen, I have been impressed with. It's looked very good, very positive, very professional. And I've shown it to a number of people that have been amazed that Gladstone has a magazine like that. So congratulations to everybody that works on it.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Nikki, what's the contract with Townsend? Is that an ongoing contract yearly, or is it just a handshake, or what is that?
I'd love to say that I knew that off the top of my head, but I don't, but I'm happy to get you that information.
And then, did we bid this out? What did you say in regards to the printing?
Townsend has been
Townsend.
our primary contract through, since, from my understanding, since we started in 2006.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, then our final presentation is the Atkins Johnson Farm Museum Event Center floor plans. Justin.
All right. Well, good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Exciting times here. As you recall, just a short time ago, you approved a contract with Shape Architecture Firm, and we didn't waste one moment. We hit the ground running with them and have already had a few meetings, and I think you'll be pretty happy with the floor plan tonight that we've come up with. Before we get going, just kind of a reminder as the site that we're dealing with here really dictates the size of the barn we're able to put there. Obviously, to the south of the site is kind of, I'll call it wetland area or unusable space. And then, of course, to the north is the parking lot. So we're kind of wedged in. I think you'll be really happy with what we have here for you tonight. So let me pull that up. And so we were real excited with this firm. They came up with the idea to kind of showcase the barn, and this would be a view from the north looking south out of the parking lot. So this is a little different than what some of the other firms put together for us. And we're really excited to kind of see this as a grandiose entrance. As you come down the drive into the parking lot, you would see this main entry into the event center. So we feel like that'll be a lot better and more workable / usable space, primarily with ADA access. To be able to get a ramp down in there would be really challenging if we were to go out the east side of the barn, as we kind of originally thought we would try. So if you were to walk out the front of the center, you would be looking north up the parking lot there. Now, northeast view, or if you will, this would be, if you were to walk out of the barn, you'd have a northeast view, or this would be a southwest view of the barn. So this is what we are looking at here, as far as probably almost sitting in the yard of the museum at this point, and looking across the yard there at the front of the barn. Another entry spot there as well, but would not be your main kind of grandiose entry into the area. And then finally, we would like to see having some pre-function area or an area for folks to go and be able to have a drink, a cocktail, hors d'oeuvre, what have you there. So that would be on the south side of the barn, would be shielded from the front area in the parking lot. You would have a view of the south area and or potentially some of the farm maybe, or the trailhead of that direction, if you will. So again, providing that space that if the wedding party's there and they want to have photos, get everybody out of the space, have a drink out on the patio, and get those photos going. So what we're really here to talk about, though, is kind of the floor plan layout. And this is still a little bit in the works, but for the most part, I think we're close to being finalized. If you see here, we have a great room, which is about 3,800 square feet. The architect feels that we can get 200 plus in there into this space for a banquet. With my experience over the community center, feel we'd be more in the 150, 175 range. I think 200 is going to be really, really tight. So conservatively, I think 150, 175 is probably a better number to really work with here, which is significant in its own. A bride's room, which is at the bottom of the page there, you see that's about 370 square feet, so an area for the bride, or any other meeting could occur in there as well, but we're calling it a bride's room for now. Caterer's kitchen, about 267 square feet. That's a little smaller than what we have at the community center, but very close in size, so we've been happy with what's at the community center. Feel this would be right in line with that. And then storage inside that of about 72 square feet, so that could be for some of the personal items we have for the city to use. That could be coffee pots or what have you that we might want to keep behind lock and key. And then, of course, the groom's room, that's about 181 square feet. Significant area, again, for groom, or, again, another meeting space to have a small meeting, or maybe if someone's negotiating a contract or what have you, they could sit in that space and not be out in the main room. And then storage behind that, which could be used for tables and chairs or any other accessories, easels, podiums, things like that we would be able to store, about 172 square feet. And then the loft storage, this is an area that we would use more just exclusively for staff. It's not going to be public use area. The loft storage would be used in conjunction with our HVAC, hot water heaters, things of that nature. So all the mechanical systems would be placed up in the loft. And what's left over, approximately about 300 square feet, we would use for Christmas tree or whatever we might want to store up there over the seasons. As you see on the west side of the building, there are a little staircase in the exterior of the building. That's again to save space inside the building, and that would go up to that loft and allow us to take things up and down as we need to store them. And then the women's room, we have 3 regular stalls, 1 ADA, and in the men's room we have 3 urinals and 1 ADA stall. And that kind of wraps everything out. And again, the space kind of dictates what we're able to do. Pretty happy, I think I can speak for all of our staff, that we're pretty happy that we are working with Shape and how they actually brought this kind of out with where we started a few weeks ago. This is a vast improvement to where we were at, so pretty happy with it. With that, I'll ask City Manager or John Lade's back here, who's been working on the project as well, if they have any comments or anything I missed.
We have, and he said it before, we've been really happy with the architect that we've chosen. They've come up with some fresh ideas, some good ideas, very responsive when we say move this around, we don't like this, we need to make this bigger. And again, using the space that we already have, they've been very easy to work with and very accommodating anytime we've asked for any changes. So, and they've built very similar facility to this, so they kind of understand how much space is needed for different things. So it's been a pretty good combination.
Yeah, and to reiterate on the space they've worked on, actually they've worked with Legacy Post and Beam, which is on your agenda tonight, as you've seen. They've worked with them on a few different, I think at least 2 or 3 projects, if not more. Very happy with the company and think that we've selected a good product to put before you.
I do want to add what is not viewed on the outside is the other barn that is going to have to come down as well has a tupelo on top that we wanted to incorporate into this design. So it'll be incorporated into this, and it's not shown in the plans. And then we've had different conversations about using, well, to be frank, there's not a lot of lumber in those barns that is usable. But some of the metal hay lifting systems and stuff like that, we're actually going to try to incorporate in this design, as well as I think the last conversation we had was one of the large barn doors we were going to try to put on the inside somewhere over the loft, and kind of make that look. So we're trying doing what we can to try to incorporate the usable pieces of the old barn to incorporate it into the new event center as well.
Justin, in the great room, what's the ceiling look like? Are there wooden beams or anything like that?
Yes, and I probably have to turn to John for the specific terminology on that, but I know there's certain ways, and if he wants to speak up.
Good evening. Yes, it'll be an open concept, wooden beams. It's all going to be timber structured in wood on the interior. The only thing that you'll have as drywall will be the restroom areas, some of the meeting rooms and such. But the great room, timbers and wood.
I would have just said chunky, rough cut wood, but you got the construction guy back there to give you the specifics. So. And then the floor will be a stained concrete, obviously. So.
And then the sidewalk, if you went back to some of the pictures beforehand, the sidewalk on the outside of the building, is that stamped concrete also?
Don't think we've made an exact decision on that yet, but
The depictions that the architects have here are just that. They just put something down to give a reference to the space around the barn. At this time, it's just plain old concrete on the outside.
And then where are we going with the parking lot? Is it going to stay gravel? Because I'll tell you, I've attended many weddings at one of these barns, and there's nothing worse than walking through that gravel with my shoes, and all the dust.
We are doing everything we can to keep this on task and on budget to the point where I think Justin and John are tired of me talking to them about that. But it's our plan that we actually do something with the parking lot as well, and resolve the problems that we've had with parking, especially in the big events when grass parking after a wet season isn't a good idea. So we'll do everything we can, honestly, to try to stay within budget, but to take care of as much as we can. And just some brief conversations that we've had, throwing some money together, some Justin and Tim and John and I and Austin getting together and having conversations, we think we can get that done.
Council, any questions?
Justin, you referenced the catering kitchen to be approximately the same size as the community center. And people that I've talked with who've tried to use the catering kitchen at the community center says it's woefully small. So I'm concerned. I know we're restricted by the parameters of this box. Is there nothing we can do at all to make that catering kitchen bigger?
I think if we were to look at that, we would be taking away from either the size of the great room. I think we positioned, or eliminating the groom's room, or then we get into storage. We would be eliminating square footage somewhere. We can certainly look at that. I'm not certain if the individual you heard from over at the community center was someone who's doing a plated meal or more of a buffet style. Plated meal, I would agree with you that if you're trying to do a plated meal, there's probably not a space big enough. I mean, you would have to have a lot bigger kitchen or something like that.
So, I'd hate to think that all of the events here would have to be a buffet.
Right.
That makes me sad.
Justin, do we have a site plan with the topography that we can view at some point of this, or we got enough far?
Yeah, so we can get that to you at a later date as we work through things. The architect does have a landscape architect on staff who we can work with and actually get that and have had discussions on that, because we are obviously concerned about the space coming off the parking lot and how much of a drop that is and how we make that work. So yes, we will get that to you at a further update.
So here's my concern with approving this purchase tonight, because I don't know that the council, and I can see a lot of rolling eyes, is convinced that we really have the space that we need. And I know that we can alter interiors, but is the actual physical structure expandable? I mean, I wouldn't think that it is with a kid, but is it with a kid?
I do not believe so, but I'm going to turn again back to John, and he's got a lot more experience here.
Why don't you come up to the last wing kitchen?
You don't get to hide in the back, sorry.
I wasn't expecting to be up here presenting with you folks also. Speaking with Legacy, the structure is expandable, and generally it would be either east or west in 12-foot sections. So we can go further to the west with the structure if needed. But then again, that also increases costs of the building and the overall construction project with finishes on the interior.
But then that's exactly why I was asking for the site plan, what our constraints really are, and if they're total space or it's topography or whatnot. But that is a good thing to know that it's expandable at least one direction. Council Member Moore is correct. I actually, I guess you could say, worked a catering event with some folks in there. There's only 3 of us in there. We were only serving around 100 people, and we were stumbling and bumbling over each other just like it wasn't practical.
But what you're saying is that if you expand it by 12 feet, then you could add square footage to the catering kitchen?
You would add square footage to the entire
You
project.
could add 12 feet to everything across that.
You could basically
Inside the building.
redesign the interior for more space in the catering, and probably also with some of the other areas.
Because we know there's never enough storage space. Never, ever, ever. So that would not hurt to add that other section, depending on the cost, obviously.
I think it all depended on the cost, how much money we had in the COP for this project, and then adding the parking lot onto it. We're just sitting here trying to get the biggest bang for our buck.
I think you've done what we've asked for, I think, which is, we are visual, we need to see what we're talking about. And I think that's where we're coming from. You've done exactly what we've asked. Okay? It just might not be quite what we're looking for. And we've all said, we have one shot at this thing.
A recommendation, Mayor, is to possibly, and I would reiterate what Councilmember Moore said, that catering kitchen, we will immediately regret the size of it. we will also regret that we don't have storage for the guests that are coming in, whether it's a wedding or whatever it may be. Having mass experience at these type of venues, having DJ equipment, there is no room for it in this space, especially if you go through a groom's room to reach into the storage. But a recommendation would possibly be to add that loft space as the groom's room, to be able to have them go upstairs, possibly be able to push out that catering kitchen, add more storage. My other concern or question would be is from a vendor load in and load out perspective, coming in from that north standpoint with those stairs is probably not going to be adequate. So is there a way that we can come in from the kitchen? And again, I don't know the topography of the site, if that's even possible, but
It is possible, and that is in the works and in the plans. As soon as we get a better site plan that we can present to you, you'll be able to see that the plan is from the west side of the parking lot to actually have a service entrance and road with a couple of parking stalls on the back side, so that a caterer could go right up to the back door, load, unload, and be able to function that way without going through the great room or any of the other spaces and interrupting guests.
Yeah, to reiterate or to talk about the loft space, if we make that public space, then it has to be ADA compliant, which becomes a whole nother kind of.
So I don't believe it does, and you guys would know this before me, but I recently just built one, and obviously in a different township. As long as you have the one down below that would be ADA space compliant, but the second one above does not necessarily need to be that way. But I might be wrong in that. I just know ours is not that way.
The issue that you run into is if we put in a loft space and we have to accommodate for any employees that may have needs and to give them access to that space above, which then you're talking about putting an elevator in the space also. And again, we have a limited budget on what we can spend and do here, and trying to stay within those confines. It was decided to not have a accessible or a public loft space, but rather to use it as a mechanical and storage area above.
We could be wrong in this. Ours was also for mechanical space, but also for the groom suite. So, and happy to share our plans with you as well. Again, completely different township, so I don't know the.
Right, we can certainly research that for sure, and will, for sure.
And no elevator, obviously. That would have been too much. But thank you very much.
Councilman Garnos.
Mayor, my only concern is the same as yours on storage. I know that's the most boring part of looking at a floor plan, but this building's gonna have a lot of tables, a lot of chairs. You know, I can see filling up that storage area just with tables and chairs and nothing much more. Went to one of those weddings at a similar facility down south, and I was in the winter time. You know, you get 200 people showing up with coats, you know, and having a place just to throw things like that for something, whether it's another 12 foot larger or we eat into the great room space, I think we could get a lot more function with a little more storage. But it's got everything in it that we were looking for.
On the loft space, one last point here. On the loft space, I'm assuming that we are coming to a peak in the middle, and so the sides would have to be lower if we're gonna do that, and you would cut those walls off, or you cut it down where the peak's at, so you'd only be in that space, is that correct?
Actually, the loft space will be pretty tall on the sides. If you look at the plans where you see the dotted lines going from east to west, that is your shed dormer there.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, so the loft area up above will be tall enough, a big room for storage.
There's nobody more than me who wants to have us stay within this budget. And I know that's really important. We all want this really, really badly. And I think this is great as we've got it so far. But I also regard, and somebody already said this is kind of a one-shot deal. And I don't want us to build it and go, dang, why didn't we just bite off just a little bit more to get it to be what we want it to be?
Yeah, I mean, maybe even if the trade-off is a little bit of time. You could put that in the hands of our finance director. So to keep this,
Cheaper to go up.
true, that's true. So to keep this moving, could we approve the resolution? We approve the resolution, what's the delivery time, maybe is what I'm trying to ask. Where I'm trying to go with this is, can we approve this knowing that we're gonna wanna find out what it costs to add on to it?
Well, I think when we added, or when we put this together, it was a not to exceed. The language was gonna be not to exceed.
Right.
And I think adding another 12 or 24 foot section onto this will exceed that. So, if you wish, we could remove this from the agenda tonight, allow us an opportunity to speak with the architects, find out, if from a civil engineering standpoint, if it can go out farther, 12 or 24, if the site plan will allow it, and then what the cost of that would be, and see where we are with that. We talked about going up. I think we're all in agreement that we don't really want to go up because we don't want this event center to outshadow the height of the museum itself. I think going up, I think using the loft for storage is probably the best plan. And if we were going to do something, we probably need to move it out or bump it out. We just don't know what the cost of that would be unless John may have that on his head, what another section of kit would be.
Just for the kit, another section is about $39,000, but that does not include all the other construction costs associated with it, with concrete finishes, plumbing, and everything else. So pad, footings, but just for the building itself, roughly about $40,000 every 12 feet.
Why don't we, if you would like, why don't we pull this off the agenda tonight? Give us an opportunity to explore those costs. I do think it is built out as good as it's going to get at this size. Asking for more space, but I don't want to take away from the meeting room because I think 150 is even tight in my mind, even 150 is tight, and I think we always thought we would want about a 150 comfortably area. I think we have that now, so the only place to play is in that back area there. So we can certainly have a brief conversation with that and come back with answers and maybe another proposal in January.
So, Justin, from a revenue standpoint, you're talking about being able to accommodate 150 versus 200. I mean, what's that look like on a rental basis?
Well, we're for the most part, if we're comparing to the community center, it's apples and oranges, totally different site. I really can't speak to that given this size of space. I really don't want to even shoot from the hip and answer for you there.
That might be, if we're looking at this, we need to look at it from the revenue standpoint too. If we're starting to talk about how many people we can accommodate, that might make a difference on the plus side.
One thing that makes us different than the community center is we can't divide out the space. So there's no way to put the walls up and shrink the space down and do multiple groups at one time. So that's why I'm hesitant to kind of give you a number on the difference of costs, whether you have 100 people or 200 people. It's probably going to be the same cost. It's not per heads, so to speak, for room.
I just want to say thank you because I know everybody's worked super hard. City manager, John, Justin, everybody who's had a piece of this. So I think we're all really, really pleased with where we are. It's just not quite big enough, we think. I'm extrapolating from what everybody has said. So I just want to say thank you because I know this is not without a huge amount of effort on everybody's part. So thank you.
It's very nice. I think we're gonna get there. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, John.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Justin.
We've got about a minute. Council meeting for December 9th, 2024, 7:30 p.m. Madam Clerk, please note all city council members are present and we have a quorum. If you would please rise and recite the Pledge of Allegiance with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item number 4 is the approval of the agenda.
Mayor Spallo.
Councilmember Moore.
I would like to remove resolution R-24-77 from our agenda this evening.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to remove item number 13, which is resolution R-2477, off of the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The agenda will stand as amended. Item number 5, approval of the November 11th, 2024 closed city council meeting minutes.
Mayor Spallo.
Councilmember Moore.
I move for the approval of the closed city council meeting minutes of November 11, 2024.
Second?
There's a motion and a second to approve the closed city council meeting minutes from November 11th, 2024. All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The closed city council meeting minutes from November 11th, 2024 stand approved as published. Item number 6, approval of the November 11th, 2024 regular city council meeting minutes.
Mayor Spallo.
Councilmember Moore.
I move for the adoption or approval of the November 11th, 2024 regular city council meeting minutes.
Second?
There's a motion and a second to approve the regular city council meeting minutes from November 11th, 2024. All in favor state aye. Aye. Any opposed? The regular city council meeting minutes from November 11th, 2024 stand approved as published. Item number 7, the communications from the audience. Members of the public are invited to speak about any topic not listed on the agenda. While speaking, please state your name and address for the record and limit your comments to 5 minutes. Would you like to speak tonight? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next agenda item, item number 8, communications from the city council. And we are going to do some board and commission appointments and then some presentations for retiring board and commission members. So at this time, I would like to present the slate of reappointments and new appointments to our several boards and commissions. But first of all, I would like to say thank you to everyone that has taken the time to interview with us, accept appointments and reappointments for all of our boards and commissions. These are extremely important to us as a city council, and we do value your opinions and your assistance with the decisions that have to be made at the city. You are representatives of everyone that lives here, and we just like to thank you again for volunteering your time to do this. For tonight, the Arts Commission, reappointment Megan Hayden for her term expiring December 2027. A new appointment to the Arts Commission would be Angela Dixon, and her term would also expire on December of 2027. The next is Board of Zoning Adjustment, a new appointment, Ethan Brown, as a first alternate, expiration December 2029. The Capital Improvements Program, reappointment Michelle Sanderson with a term expiration of 2027. New appointment Mr. Jason Hunter, December 2027, also as an expiration. Code Board of Appeals, reappointment Ken Christensen, term expiration 2027, December of 2027. The Environmental Management Advisory Committee, better known as EMAC, reappointment Julie Kahn, reappointment George Smith, and new appointment Bert Comstock. Those are all terms expiring in December of 2027. The Neighborhood Commission, new appointment Linda Baines, with also a term expiring December 2027. The the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. Reappointment, Jason Sharpstein, December 2027, expiration. And the Planning Commission. Reappointment, Brenda Lowe, December 2028. Reappointment, Mr. Bill Turnage, December 2028. And our new appointment is Mr. Nick Smith, also expiring December of 2028. I will accept a motion to approve the appointments and reappointments of the slate of board members and for the next several years.
Mayor Spalding.
Mayor Pro Tem Les Smith.
So moved.
Second.
I've received a motion and a second to approve the slate of officers. Everyone in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The slate of officers board members I've just presented stands approved. Thank you very much. Now we are going to have a couple of presentations to folks that are retiring. Dennis Garrison, Code Board of Appeals. Dennis here. Hey, Dennis. Come on up. I'd like to thank you and present you with this plaque for all your years of service on the Code Board of Appeals. It is always nice to have been at those meetings with you and hear your expert opinion on items that we do deal with. And thank you very much. Appreciate it. And our second one is Mary Ann Cascone, the Arts Commission. Hi, Mary Ann.
Hello.
Thank you so much for all your years of commitment to the Arts Commission and the dedication that you brought to that. You know, you look around our city and see all the beautiful pieces of art that we have, and that's because of dedication by people like you. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. We also had a couple of other folks that have retired, Mr. Roger Poteet from the TIF Commission and the Board of Zoning Adjustment, and Brian Bach from also the TIF Commission. So they could not be with us tonight, but we would like to thank them for their service, and we will get their certificates to them. All right, now we'll have our communications from City Council. Councilman Davis.
Thanks, Mayor. The only comment I have tonight is the first rendition is started and underway and up and at 'em on the downtown lighting project right down here on the street. They look great. So if anybody has noticed it, it's an awesome new piece and it's definitely lighting up our city. So good work.
Councilman Garnos.
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to mention, since our last meeting, I had the privilege of attending a Board of Zoning Adjustment meeting and advisory board for Parks and Recreation. So the work continues.
Wonderful. Thank you. Councilmember Moore.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to congratulate you and all of the elves who have helped with the successful Mayor's Christmas tree. It was a great event. And I just want to encourage everybody, having been in Mayor Swallow's shoes in the past, just encourage everybody, if you can, to contribute to the Mayor's Christmas Tree Fund. It benefits 3 great charities this year, and so I hope that you will dig deep and help support these great charities. I also had the opportunity on Friday and the privilege to accept on behalf of the city 2 Keystone Awards from the Clay County EDC, one for the City Hall renovation and one for the Hobby Hill development with the developer Joe Christensen. So city staff and I had fun at the event, and it was great to accept those awards for the city. It's always fun to win.
Yes, it is. Winning is always good.
Very good thing.
That's right.
Apparently, no matter by how much you can see. Mayor, just ditto to Councilmember Moore's comments about the mayor's tree lighting, but on a personal note, I want to thank you for asking one of my granddaughters, Kenzie Smith, to help you flip the switch. She still has not come down off of Cloud 9, so thank you.
Well, it was most appropriate to have the granddaughter of one of our founding fathers be the light turner on her that.
Turn her on there, it was fun.
That's right. She had a great time. It's fun to see her little bright eyes.
It was, thank you.
Good night. Again, thank you to everyone that participated at the Mayor's Christmas tree lighting ceremony, particularly the Parks Department. You guys organized that and help a lot with that. And so thank you so much. We do look forward to the donations. Like Councilmember Moore said, these are three very deserving charities. As a matter of fact, the Northland Christmas Store opened up to their clients this morning at 10 o'clock. And we will finish up tomorrow evening at about 7. We will have escorted 186 families through the Christmas store tomorrow, and then we will serve another 280 seniors at their homes with packages. So it's a great organization. I'm very grateful to be a part of it. And other than that, I don't believe that we are going to have another meeting in December. So I'd like to wish everyone happy holidays, and we are very grateful as a city council to each one of you, city staff, our residents, boards and commission members, for everything that you do for us as a city council, and we are honored to work with you. Number 9 here, Mr. City Manager.
As we, communication specialist Nikki Lansford talked about in a study session, the fall edition of the Gladstone magazine is officially out. Be sure to look it over and learn more about the city's new home repair grant, our latest artwork installation at Oak Grove Park, and more. And there's an online version you can view on the city's website as well. Holiday concert series begins at the Gladstone Community Center this Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. Listen to local groups perform holiday favorites while enjoying some hot chocolate and cookies. And as a reminder, after Christmas, residents can dispose of their real Christmas trees for free at the Gladstone Public Works from December 26th through January 10th, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday, and proof of residency is required. And that's all I have tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Appreciate it. We'll move on to item number 10, which is the consent agenda. Madam Clerk, please explain and read the consent agenda.
The consent agenda allows the City Council to consider and approve routine items of business without discussion. Any member of the City Council, the city staff, or the public may request removal of any item from the consent agenda and request that it be considered under the regular agenda if discussion or debate of the item is desired. Items not removed from the consent agenda will stand approved upon motion by any council member, second unanimous vote, to approve the consent agenda as published or modified. Consent agenda. Resolution R-24-74, a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a nuisance abatement services agreement with Weber's Tree Service, LLC. Resolution R-24-75, a resolution authorizing acceptance of a TIPS USA cooperative purchasing proposal from McConnell and Associates Corporation in the amount of $87,424 for the conversion of the 72nd Street tennis courts into pickleball courts. Project CP2555.
Does anyone from the audience, city council, or staff wish to remove any item from the consent agenda? Hearing none, I will accept a motion.
Mayor Spallon.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Move we approve the consent agenda as published.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All in favor of approving the consent agenda, state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The consent agenda stands approved. Moving on to the regular agenda this evening, item number 11 is the first reading of bill number 24-33. An ordinance rescinding ordinance number 4.664, approving a collective bargaining agreement with the Fraternal Order of Police, Lodge 50, for supervisory commissioned police department personnel.
Mayor Spallon.
Councilman Garnets.
I move to place bill number 24-33 on its first reading.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to place bill number 24-33 on its first reading. Is there any discussion? All in favor of placing bill number 24-33 on its first reading, state aye. Any opposed? Madam Clerk, please read the bill.
First reading bill number 24-33, an ordinance rescinding ordinance number 4.664, approving a collective bargaining agreement with the Fraternal Order of Police, Lodge 50, for supervisory commissioned police department personnel.
Mayor Spalla.
Councilman Garnos.
I move to accept the first reading of bill number 24-33, waive the rule, and place the bill on its second and final reading.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to accept the first reading of bill number 24-33, waive the rule, and place the bill on its second and final reading. Is there any discussion? All in favor of placing bill number 24-33 on its second and final reading, state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Madam Clerk, please read the bill.
Second reading bill number 24-33, an ordinance rescinding ordinance number 4.664, approving a collective bargaining agreement with the Fraternal Order of Police, Lodge 50, for supervisory commissioned police department personnel.
Mayor Spalla.
Councilman Garnos.
I move to accept the second and final reading of bill number 24-33 and enact the bill as ordinance number 4.686.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the second and final reading of bill number 24-33 and enact the bill as ordinance 4.686. Is there any discussion?
Mayor Spalla.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Just because CBAs and FOP is kind of if I were sitting at home or sitting here, I'd kind of wonder what's going on with this. So could we ask the city manager to give a very brief explanation of our action?
Of the pickleball conversion?
The collective bargaining.
Oh, collective bargaining agreement, yeah, I'm sorry. The supervisory group of the part of the FOP actually signed an agreement for a collective bargaining agreement. The city actually reached a collective bargaining agreement with them approximately a year ago, and they have decided since then that they want the FOP not to be their sole bargaining agent for a collective bargaining agreement, and they want to go back to the way it was prior to the collective bargaining agreement. So the article that is before you now, the bill is actually, they voted on that, and the city council, because they approved it by ordinance, they need to rescind it by ordinance as well.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Davis?
Aye.
Councilman Garnos?
Aye.
Councilmember Moore?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith?
Aye.
Mayor Spalla.
Aye. Bill number 24-33 stands enacted as ordinance number 4.686. Moving on to item number 12, resolution R-24-76. A resolution authorizing acceptance of a Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing Proposal from CXT Incorporated in the amount of $108,818 for the purchase of a precast concrete restrooms for the 72nd Street Pickleball Courts Project CP2555. I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor Spalla.
Councilman Davis.
I move to approve resolution R-24-76 as presented.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution R-24-76 stands approved. Just a reminder, we've removed item number 13 from the agenda, so we'll move on to 14. Any other business? Seeing none, we will adjourn.